In this short duration study, which was a randomized, double-blind, placebo crossover trial, which lasted 7 days on the creatine consumption side, it yielded such dramatic impact on the quality of sleep, at least among the 14 healthy male participants, it was quite astounding. Statistically, there was a 33% improvement in the quality of sleep. Now, I want you to take that into context. That was only 7 days with the consumption of 20 grams of creatine per day. I know it sounds like quite a bit. The creatine was basically separated into 4 separate doses, 5 grams each, throughout the day. Well, without further ado, let's look at the data we have here. All right, the effects of creatine monohydrate loading on sleep metrics, physical performance, cognitive function, and recovery in physically active men, a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial. And here you have right there as far as what you got as far as the basic snapshot of the study. Now, let's look a little further into it. There's the subjective sleep quality, the 33%, and the cognitive boost, at least in reference to alertness, is 16%. There you have your bar chart representing the data in reference to the placebo and the creatine group. And that yielded that 33% within just basically a week. All right, so that was pretty amazing with that 7-day loading phase to get the results that fast. All right, a little further into it, we look at the study architecture. We look at 20 grams, again, to reiterate, 7 days, 4 times a day, 14 people. There's your dosaging throughout the day, the average age and specs of these male participants. So, without further ado, let's get into the backstory of this particular research as to what drove them to look at creatine in reference to sleep and cognitive boost. To proceed, although skeletal muscle stores the majority of the body's creatine, the brain is highly metabolically active organ, accounting for approximately 20% of total energy consumption. The brain's substantial energy requirements necessitates efficient replenishment mechanisms, which are predominantly active during sleep. Sleep plays a pivotal role, I'm going to be a little fast to move through, in maintaining human health, primarily by supporting the recovery and regeneration of physiological and psychological systems. This includes restoration of neurochemical, hormonal, muscular, and immunological functions. Adequate quality and quantity of sleep are essential for maintaining well-being, mood, stability, and cognitive performance. All right, here we go. Given the brain's reliance on sleep for energy restoration and neurochemical recovery, creatine supplementation may positively influence cognitive function. Specifically, creatine metabolically supports processes such as memory consolidation and synaptic plasticity by enhancing ATP, adenosine triphosphate, for those not familiar, recycling, thereby ensuring rapid energy availability during periods of high neural demand. All right, these processes emphasize the significance of creatine as a major contributor to energy metabolism, as well as, I should say, possible regulative mood and cognitive function. Additionally, when brain bioenergetics, which refers to cellular metabolism and energy homeostasis of the brain, are challenged, as occurs during sleep deprivation, the reliance on creatine as a source of energy seems to be stronger. This is the backstory. Sleep deprivation, often regarded as a metabolic disorder due to the disruption of energy homeostasis, drives neurons into a catabolic state. That catabolic condition is further exacerbated by the increased metabolic demands of prolonged wakefulness and the concomitant reduction in energy substrate availability. Here we go with creatine. Increased creatine levels in the brain may improve resilience in mental function, reducing cognitive impairments brought on by various stressors. Again, that is the backstory. I want to go a little bit into the research data as far as the technical side. This is our statistical outcomes. Again, we have a pretty large audience, diverse backgrounds, healthcare professionals, data analysts, so on and so forth. So here is our research data. All right, now we want to look for the healthcare professional. This is where basically healthcare professionals will possibly incorporate this into, potentially, into the practice. Indications in regard to what the researchers claim. Contraindications, that's what you have there. Again, this is for educational reasons only. We don't promote, or I should say, any sort of supplementation program without reference or regard to a healthcare professional. Safety outcomes. This is interesting. Look at 20 grams, all right, 5 grams, 500 milliliters of water 4 times a day. So for a total of 20 grams throughout the day. There was no reported here, at least GI distress, even though a little bit of water retention. But keep that in mind. All right, there's your basically effect size overview for those in statistics. All right, but now let's go to the conclusion. Clinicians and sport nutritionists could consider incorporating creatine monohydrate supplementation into recovery strategies for athletes facing sleep disturbances and cognitive performance challenges, like we all do. The documented ergogenic potential suggests that short-term creatine loading may be a practical strategy to support performance recovery in athletic settings, particularly when rapid benefits are desired. Considering the growing evidence of creatine's dual impact on cognitive and physical performance, the development of clear guidelines emphasizing safe and evidence-based supplementation practices will be beneficial for athletic populations. Wow, creatine has come from a long way since we first introduced it back in the late 1990s. All right, bottom line, here we go. To reiterate, there's 20 grams of creatine in powder form. As far as food equivalent and heat tends to be detrimental to the effect of creatine monohydrate. There you have right there as far as your breakdown. As well, basically the critical appraisal, the strength of the study itself, as you can see through basically the pie chart there, quite strong. Sample size, obviously kind of small, but that's kind of like your power rating. Your strengths, your limitations, short duration, small sample size, and male only. Strengths, of course, the randomized crossover, placebo-controlled double-blind study, the metrics, and the strict diet control. And for those that missed part of it, there's your glossary of terminology. If you missed part of it and want to go back and say, oh, now I know what that means, subjective sleep quality, so on and so forth, there you have it. Again, an incredible short duration study, but it had to yield that improvement in sleep quality, which obviously can help with cognitive function. It's quite amazing. And it was done in such a short duration to yield that benefit says quite a bit in favor, at least in this case, to the short duration, small sample size group to be quite phenomenal. Gratitude to the researchers. I am humble you watch, as always. And once again, as I always say, see what you and I discover next week. All right, catch you all next time. See you then. Bye.